Delhi is in an oxygen crisis. We all know someone struggling to breathe. Politics speaks, citizens collateral. As the COVID tsunami sweeps,
दिल्ली को 350 मेट्रिक टन, उत्तर प्रदेश को 800 मेट्रिक टन और अलग-अलग राज्यों के रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से इसको बड़ा फेयरली एलोकेट किया गया है।
दिल्ली के अंदर ऑक्सीजन की कमी होने लगी है। आज ऑक्सीजन की, रेमडेसिविर की और टोसिलिजुमैब इन तीनों की कमी नज़र आई।
who is not letting Delhi breathe? State or center? Top focus at this hour.
Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. How many of us who are in Delhi know someone who's struggling to breathe as we speak? I want to take you right now, viewers, through a list of hospitals which are running out of breath, literally so. Just a few hours left of oxygen supply. We're going to, through the course of this bulletin, viewers, we're going to go across to the reasons on why is it that Delhi hospitals are running out of oxygen. But let's give out the list right now. Barely few hours of oxygen left. These are the hospitals right now, literally running out of breath. Max Shalimar Bagh, Max Patparganj have just about 2 or 3 hours of oxygen supply left. Holy Family Hospital, Sir Irene Hospital, Gangaram Hospital, Apollo Hospital, Manipal Hospital, St. Stephen Hospital just got their oxygen supply in the nick of time when they had only 1 hour of oxygen supply left. These are the hospitals, viewers. I'll give you an example. Max Shalimar Bagh has 300 COVID positive patients dependent on oxygen right now. Max Shalimar Bagh has less than 3 hours of oxygen left, waiting to be replenished, desperate to be replenished as we speak. All right, we're getting in breaking news coming in right now. Max Shalimar Bagh and Max Patparganj Hospital both have issued out a statement, viewers, and I want to take our viewers through that statement which is coming in. This is the latest news break. Both the Max hospitals has put out a statement saying they have only 2 hours of oxygen left at Max Shalimar Bagh and 3 hours of oxygen left at Max Patparganj. The two hospitals between them have over 500 patients. It's also important to note, viewers, at this point of time that the Max Hospital in Delhi has written to the Delhi Health Minister Satyendra Jain on the shortage of oxygen supply, and they've made a very grave charge. Max Hospital says the oxygen tanker meant for Max was diverted to AIMS, which led to Max Hospital's oxygen tanks running dry. Once again, putting in focus, viewers, the state versus the center. What is going on is that needs to be addressed right now, because Max says their oxygen tanks were diverted to AIMS. AIMS is a center-run hospital. I want to cut across immediately right now to my colleague Tanushri, who's joining us outside Max Patparganj Hospital, if I'm not wrong. Tanushri, you're outside one of the Max hospitals which is running out of breath in the next 2 hours, is what we are getting to know. Max has written a letter to the Delhi Health Minister saying that their oxygen supply was in fact taken over by AIMS. The cylinder coming to them was diverted to AIMS. What's going on?
That's right. In fact, the SOS was sent out by the director of the Max Speciality Group in the national capital, that their oxygen cylinders were actually diverted to All India Medicals in the national capital. Now, that is a word coming in from the Max Hospital, but we have just spoken to the director a short while back, and what he has told us is that the Delhi government is on the task and they are making sure that oxygen supply reaches all the branches of Max Hospital on time. But I'll tell you, Preeti, that as of now, no tanker has reached this particular facility, which has 300 critical patients. And if oxygen supply doesn't reach max at Patparganj, 300 patients may lose their lives. And there is no beating around the bush. Literally, the lives of 300 critical patients are in danger. They cannot survive without oxygen even for more than 5 minutes. And this is not us giving any statements. This is directly coming from the doctors who are treating those patients. In fact, some of the resident doctors of this facility, Max Hospital at Patparganj, told me that we are losing out on hopes. We have no hope from any government. We are now praying to God for our patients. We do not care about us, but we are praying to God for our patients. And in fact, we haven't even told our patients that this is the situation. Otherwise, a sort of, an atmosphere of panic will break out in the hospital. So right now, the doctors are praying to God. So imagine, Preeti, the kind of pressure, the kind of atmosphere that the doctors have lost all hopes, and now they are praying to God. So this is the situation in Delhi, the acute shortage of oxygen in Delhi hospitals, Preeti.
Tanushree, we are not in the business of being alarmist, but this is a situation to be alarmed with what is going on in our various hospitals in the national capital. I want to cut across right now to my colleague Milan, who's joining us outside the LNJP Hospital. Last night, there was an acute crisis of oxygen at the LNJP Hospital. They got their stock late at night, hours before it was going to run out. Milan, we are looking at right now, Tanushree is reporting from Max, which has 2 hours of oxygen supply left. We are looking at Sir Irene Hospital. We are looking at Gangaram Hospital. We are looking at Manipal Hospital. All of them running out of oxygen. Apollo Hospital as well, as they issued out a statement, they only have few hours of supply left.
Well, yes, Preeti, private hospitals have also now raised an alarm because, as my colleague Tanushree just pointed out, Max Hospital, many of those just have oxygen enough for 2 to 3 hours, especially if we talk about Max Patparganj and Shalimar Bagh. They have oxygen for the next 2-3 hours. I'm standing outside LNJP that was supplied an oxygen of about 10 metric tons last night. But what the hospital administration has told us, they're expecting more oxygen supplies because 10 metric tons is not enough for the LNJP. There are more than 500 patients here who require ICU ventilation as well as oxygenation. But between all this, Preeti, Arvind Kejriwal has tweeted and said that the government has increased their supply from about 300 odd metric ton to about 470 for now. Although the Health Minister Satyendra Jain had tweeted and said Delhi requires 700 metric tons of oxygen every day. So that is not going to be enough, which is why the crisis is not over yet. And that is why hospitals here are completely out of breath and waiting and hoping that oxygenation and supplies continue throughout the national capital, both private and government facilities.
Right. Milan and Tanushree, ladies, thank you for joining us. We're going to continue to come back to you. We're going to count down, and we're hoping that each of these hospitals get their oxygen supply in time. And we promise our viewers we're going to follow that up. Appreciate you both for joining us. I want to quickly dip into the schizophrenic approach between the state and the center. An hour back, the center and the state at loggerheads, blaming each other. One of them actually, the Haryana government came out and said that Delhi is looting their oxygen cylinders. On the other hand, the Delhi government pointing fingers at the center. Listen into what they said, and suddenly now the Chief Minister of Delhi is thanking the center. What is going on? Let's play out the first initial reaction on how the state and the center continued to blame each other. Listen in.
कई अस्पतालों में जिनमें दिन में ऑक्सीजन का संकट हो गया था, वो इसलिए हो गया था क्योंकि फरीदाबाद के एक प्लांट से जहां से ऑक्सीजन आनी थी, वहां पर हरियाणा के एक अधिकारी ने जाके दिल्ली के लिए जाने वाले या किसी और राज्य के लिए जाने वाले ट्रक्स को रोक दिया और कहा कि केवल वहां से अब हरियाणा के लिए ऑक्सीजन निकलेगी। जब केंद्र सरकार को तय कर रहे हैं कि किस राज्य को कितनी ऑक्सीजन मिले, तो फिर राज्य सरकारों को यह अधिकार नहीं होना चाहिए कि वो दूसरे राज्यों के कोटे में दूसरे राज्यों को जाने वाली ऑक्सीजन में इस तरह से दखल करें।
कल हमारा एक टैंकर हमारे फरीदाबाद के अस्पतालों के लिए ऑक्सीजन लेके दिल्ली से जा रहा था। दिल्ली वालों ने, दिल्ली सरकार ने हमारे उस टैंकर को लूट लिया। ये बहुत गलत बात है। इस तरीके से अगर आपाधापी करेंगी सरकारें तो ये सारे अव्यवस्था फैल जाएगी। हालांकि अब मैंने आदेश जारी कर दिए कि जो भी टैंकर जाएगा वो पुलिस एस्कॉर्ट के साथ जाएगा ताकि ऐसी घटना ना हो। लेकिन इस प्रकार से धक्के से किसी टैंकर से गैस निकाल लेना ये बहुत निंदनीय बात है।
All right, viewers. Now what's happened is there's been enough. The blame game is going on. You had Gautam Gambhir also who came in blaming this state. The state turned around, blamed the centre. But now the Chief Minister has come out and thanked the centre for increasing the supply. I want to cut across to our guest this evening. I have Jasmine Shah from the Aam Aadmi Party. I have Aparajita Sarangi from the BJP. Mr. Shah, what's going on? What is this schizophrenic approach? Till 20 minutes ago, the Aam Aadmi Party kept blaming the centre. Now you're thanking the centre.
That's not right. That's not what we have done. Let me tell you, and give me 30 seconds because the sequence has to be very clearly understood. 5 days back, when the cases started rising in Delhi, we very clearly requested the centre, because the medical oxygen is a regulated commodity, the centre assigns quota to different states. So we said that our requirement now has doubled from around 350 metric tons to 700 metric tons. So please assign us a higher quota. We did not hear for the last 4-5 days. Instead, what happened is that our existing supply of 350 metric tons was curtailed. Why? Because the two plants from which majority of the hospitals in Delhi get the supply from, one is in UP. The administration of UP put a lock on that plant and said that no trucks will go to Delhi from here. Today, the same thing happened in Haryana, which again, we are not saying that. These are the most respected private hospitals of Delhi where, everybody goes to. They are saying that our suppliers have very clearly told us that, the local administration has prevented us from sending plants. So that is why this hue and cry. And we have repeatedly appealed. We have not accused the centre. We are pleading and we are requesting the centre and the states that today the nation is going through an unprecedented crisis. Let's work together. Let's find a solution. But each state turning into an independent republic, declining to follow court orders and any kind of a humane behavior is not the way we'll find this crisis, solve this crisis. And thankfully, today's centre finally has chosen to intervene, asked Haryana and UP to stand back and ensured that Delhi will get a little higher supply than what it was usually getting. We still need around 700 metric tons, as you just said. Hospitals cannot be running on 5 hours and 10 hours of supply. They legally require minimum 3 days of supply. On average, they require 7 days of supply. So again, we are requesting that the centre, that because medical oxygen is a regulated commodity, it is not available for free purchase in the market. Centre needs to ensure that higher supplies are allocated to Delhi and all the states and cities which are going through a crisis. Tomorrow, other states might go through a crisis and their requirement will increase. So we are glad that after 5 days of watching the show, the centre has finally decided to intervene, and we want to work with all the states and the centre to ensure that we can actually provide the best care to the people of Delhi.
All right, okay. Ms. Sarangi, are we living in the Wild West? What is going on? Yesterday, you have the health minister who's accusing Delhi of stealing oxygen. Today, you have Max hospitals. These are reputed hospitals, madam, which have come online and say that their oxygen supply was diverted towards a centre hospital run, which is AIMS. What is going on?
We understand the criticality of the situation. We are standing at a very critical juncture, very serious issue. But let me tell you with all humility, with all conviction at my command, that the central government is standing by the state governments. The central government is not distinguishing between one state government and the other. There is absolutely no politics when we are handling corona. As far as Delhi government is concerned, I'm extremely happy that the Chief Minister came out today and thanked the central government. This is the way to work. And in fact, this has all been a great example of cooperative federalism. We could earn good name while handling COVID-1 situation because we were working very closely together. And let me tell you, this scuffle between Delhi government and Haryana government, I think these things are minor in nature and the state governments are mature enough to handle these issues, sort out these issues at their level. But as far as the central government is concerned, I think it is listening to all the state government, all the chief ministers, and actually responding through its 24/7 coordination cell. We have been able to do oxygen mapping, and as per the mapping, we are trying to help all the states. Now, as far as Delhi is concerned, let me put forth here that 162 pressure swing absorption plants are being set up for oxygen manufacturing. And out of these, 8 plants are coming up in Delhi alone. So I think this is one. And number two, today, 16 trucks, each truck having 20,000 kilos of oxygen have been pressed into service. And they are reaching all the hospitals and actually replenishing the stock. And it's a very close monitoring that's taking place, not only for Delhi, for all the states. But let me tell you honestly that these also have a very major role to play. State governments have to ensure that there is absolutely no hoarding and there is proper distribution. Everything has to be in check and there has to be very close monitoring. See, it's very easy to put into place things, but then it's very important to ensure that the scheme or the program is implemented well. We are well aware of the fact that the central government is importing 50,000 metric ton of oxygen. We are aware of that. And also we are aware of that 100 plants are being set up in 100 hospitals and the work is underway. Apart from that, I'm extremely glad to inform you to replenish the stock of oxygen.
Madam, we are also aware that people right now are gasping for breath and dying on the outside hospitals in Delhi. We are also aware of that. Corporate federalism and jargon like this are words which are off a buffalo's back, when it comes down to people who are standing in queue outside hospitals. I want to ask you 2 quick questions before I take a comment from Jasmine. Number one, ma'am, all these hospitals that we are talking about with 2 hours left of oxygen supply, will it be given, or are we going to count down to minutes and the family is waiting with bated breath for corporate federalism to kick in? Can I take your word as a spokesperson of your party and the government that this supply will be restored?
Of course. Let me tell you honestly, I understand the kind of rage that all of us are into. You are angry, I am angry, everybody is angry. I fully understand. This is an emergency situation. It's almost national emergency. But please trust the central government.
Ma'am, your anger is not justified. I'm sorry.
The central government is not leaving any stone unturned. And it's working with the state governments. I can assure you that no state governments will be without oxygen supply. All the patients will be taken care of, and we are working day and night. We are working very closely.
Ma'am, we are mapping, like you said, the center is mapping. We are mapping 5 hospitals which have less than 4 hours of oxygen supply left. Some of them with just 2 hours of oxygen supply left. Jasmine Shah, why shouldn't you be held accountable? What was the Delhi government doing till now? Till 3 days ago, 15th, Jasmine, 15th of this month, Mr. Shah, you have the Chief Minister coming out and saying we have enough oxygen supply, we have enough beds. 10 days go and we are pleading where people are dying outside hospitals, gasping for breath. You yourself know the number of calls you're getting, sir.
That's not right. 4 days back, because the number of hospital admissions have peaked, you must understand this has all happened in the last 1 week, that we have really reached the limit of hospital capacity in Delhi. And that's why the lockdown has been imposed. And as the Honorable Chief Minister has very transparently put in the public domain that this is the time where we need to increase oxygen supply. But what happened, we have to understand why all the top hospitals of Delhi are on 2 hours of supply. This has never happened in the history of Delhi. It has happened because regular existing supply, forget about increasing supply, existing supply has been curtailed, and this has not happened today. This has happened 3 days back. All these suppliers told that we would want to honor our commitments to you as a hospital. But if the local DM, if the local IS officer and IPS officer are sitting in front of our gate and preventing our tankers, then what are we supposed to do? And that is the reason you're also aware the High Court, Honorable High Court has given directions to both these vendors that nothing doing, you ought to give your committed supply of quota to Delhi. Still, until today, the center chose to stand by, and that is why we're seeing continuous crisis. Thankfully, we are glad that now they've woken up, and this kind of a crisis we should never see any time in the future.
I need to bow out of this debate. All right. Okay. This is all the time that we have for. And the sad part is today, no matter what either of you say, sir, either of what you say, you have failed the people of the national capital collectively. Try talk about corporate federalism to somebody who's standing with their father, with their child, with their husband, with their wife outside a hospital looking for an oxygenated bed, and even after getting it, that the oxygen might be shut off in the next 2 hours. try having that conversation with them. With that, we're going to go into a quick break. Do stay with us. Appreciate our panelists for joining us. Up next is Rahul Kamal. Hi everyone, Preeti Choudhry here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.